Hello to everyone. We are going to start. Hello, people online and people here in Brussels. My name is Marije van Breda. I'm the Educate coordinator. And Educate is the Belgian platform for education and development. And one of the goals of our platform is to create a learning environment. And that's why we organize this kind of webinars, these sessions that we called Connect and Learn. Today, we take you with us to Uganda, and the moderator of today is Pauline Bourtambour. She's expert in education for Enabel. I want to ask to the people who are following online to mute themselves, mute their micro, and I want to inform you that this session will be recorded. Yeah, and the recording and the presentation will be available after the session on our website, educate.be. I give the floor to Pauline.
Thank you.
And have a good session.
Thank you, Marije. Is the sound all right online? Okay, great. Just to check. Welcome to everybody in the room, but also online for being here with us today for this special Connect and Learn around girls' education in Uganda. So as Marije said, I'm Pauline Bourtambour. I'm education expert for Enabel, and I will be your moderator today. So it's really an honor for us to welcome Madame Angela Nakafeero this week for a very first mission to Belgium. Thank you for being here with us. And as part of her mission, she will be sharing today with Educate's members an overview of the key issues and strategies for girls' education in Uganda. With a renewed political interest from Belgium, which has put girls' education fully back on the agenda, Enabel now has new bilateral cooperation programs in general education in 7 different countries at the moment, besides working as well on economic empowerment through vocational education and training in another 16 countries. Improving the situation for girls in education and training being a major focus in all of these new programs. It is with great interest and a lot of passion that we wanted to share with you, with all the Educate's members, today the concrete experience of Angela, with whom we have been partnering for many years now through our programs in general education in Uganda. Angela is currently serving as the Commissioner, Gender and Women Affairs of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development in Uganda. She's based in Kampala. She spearheads the development, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of the national gender policy plans and programs aimed at achieving gender equality and women's empowerment. Previously, Angela also served as a gender technical advisor for the Ministry of Education and Sport in Uganda, where she also spearheaded the development and implementation of the National Strategic Plan on Elimination of Violence Against Children in Schools, the review of the gender in education policy, and the development of training manuals. So she was a key actor in designing and conducting groundbreaking research on gender-based violence in learning institutions, and also the utilization of findings and recommendations to inform education programs, education projects, and policies in Uganda. From the importance of girl education in Uganda passing through the status and the progress made in Uganda, and also identifying the existing challenges and opportunities regarding girl education in Uganda, Angela will now take you for a 20 minutes presentation in a journey through girls and women lifelong learning in Uganda. And after the 20-minute presentation of Angela, we will open the floor for questions and comments. So feel free, the presentation will be held in English, but feel free afterwards to ask your question also in French or Dutch, and we will translate them for Angela, of course, and the participant. So thank you for interest, for being there online and in the room. Thank you to Educate for making this moment of sharing possible on such a short notice. So thank you so much. Angela, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pauline, for that kind introduction. Guests in the room and those online. I would like to thank Enabel for the invitation. Yeah, it has been very enriching. Really, in terms of girls' education in Uganda. Let's start the presentation. You'll note that quite a lot has been achieved. And of course, there are equally emerging challenges and opportunities. So my role today is very simple, is to really carry you through where we stand, where we've come from, and of course, how we are looking at the future. So this is going to be my brief presentation, not more than 20 minutes. I think bullet number 1, I'm talking to already the converted. I will not spend a lot of time. Then I'll move on the status and of course, existing challenges and opportunities for girls' education in Uganda. Really, all of us in the room know very well that girls' education improves economic efficiency in a number of areas. For us in Uganda, it removes the barriers to national development, creates opportunities for participation in national development, improves our status, and of course, also makes everybody, all opportunities for all of us to participate in national development. Next. So what are the key requirements for girls' education? That's why I would like to focus my attention. And of course, later on, I'll also present where we stand as a country alongside these areas. For me, supportive families and communities are vital, almost at the center of girls' education. Parents that who can afford, and of course, positive social norms are very critical. Conducive learning environment, this is specifically so in schools, within and around schools. Of course, I'll be reflecting on the role of the supportive teachers as good role models. Facilities, services, and infrastructures are important for us. But of course, a gender responsive and secure and safe learning environment is critical that promotes girls' effective participation and taking opportunities offered by education and learning. A relevant curricula is also important. And of course, we are currently looking at lifelong skills and knowledge that contribute to national development. I'll also reflect on the outcomes because all of us are in schools really to thrive within the system, be able to achieve and move on to another level of education. And at the end of the cycle, be able to contribute to national development. So I'll be looking at opportunities for all. I'll also be looking at initiatives taken to narrow the existing inequalities. And a conducive legal and policy environment that is gender responsive and equity responsive is important. And of course, a legal and policy environment that is really enforced and implemented. So those are the dimensions within which I'm going to discuss girls' education in Uganda. So what progress have we made as a country in terms of promoting girls' education? I'll start with the aspect of affordability of education. We note that majority of the Ugandans cannot afford education of their children. And of course, that has been a challenge in terms of where patriarchy prevails. And of course, sons are more preferred to attend education. 20.1% of Ugandans are poor. However, what's important to note is the fact that government of Uganda prioritized education and in particular girls' education since 1997 with the introduction of universal primary education, as well as universal secondary education in 2007. And this reduced the cost of education, but did not remove completely the cost of education. So even up to date, there are still costs that parents have to really bear in terms of accessing education. UPE alone, that is Universal Primary Education, increased enrollment for both boys and girls by 73% by 1997. And of course, to date, we have over 1.8 million learners enrolled in primary education. We've achieved equality between boys and girls, which we celebrate as a country, because this was not the case before. So you will see that we have more girls in primary education, mainly because of the population dynamics. We have more women in Uganda, slightly more than 1% are women compared to men. So really the figures does not mean that boys are no longer equitably participating, but it's because of the population dynamics. As a country, we achieved gender parity in enrollment, and that is important for us. The introduction of universal secondary education also increased the enrollment of girls by 19.8 in 2007 to 23% in 2017. We've also had scholarships, especially for higher institutions of learning, and there's been a deliberate effort to ensure that girls do access the scholarships. What we note in terms of affordability to education is the fact that the costs, the burden of education to parents has been increasing, yet the unit cost financing of education by the government is also reducing compared to the demand. So this remains a challenge still for children, especially the girls and the child mothers. Can we move on? So we are glad that today we have boys and girls in schools and they're learning. In terms of a conducive learning environment where we are looking at facilities, we measure the distance to school. The distance has reduced 0 to 5 kilometers, 93% within that radius of 0 to 5 kilometers. So majority of the boys and girls can go to school. The classroom learner ratio has also improved. For primary in 2017 was 1 to 55, and for secondary was 1 class to 25 learners. Teacher learner ratio has also improved from 1 to 50 in 08 to 1 to 43 for primary in 2017, and then 1 to 25 for secondary. Latrine instances, that is just an indicator. We used to measure sanitation and hygiene. We still have, the figure is still high. We still have challenges there. So violence against children in schools, still an issue. However, we celebrate the milestones made. By the time we started the ending violence against children in schools in 2012, it was as high as 82%. So currently it's at 40%. Sexual violence is still high, but it has slightly reduced. Of course, 17% currently is still high. We need to do more. And then the adolescent girls that are dropping out of school, when we started, it was 24% due to teenage pregnancy. It was 24%. Right now, it's 21%. Still, it is high, but also note the gains that we've registered over the last 8 years. I'm glad that the level of reporting of cases of violence against children in Uganda has greatly improved, and that gives us an opportunity to respond to some of these cases of violence. Can we move on? So Ministry of Education and Sports in 2006 banned corporal punishment. We also revised the basic requirements and minimum standards, and included management of institution safety and security in 2009. In 2015, we developed the National Strategic Plan on Ending Violence Against Children in Schools, and that several initiatives have been implemented to ensure that we really respond to violence against children in schools, and that really reflects on the milestones that we've registered as a country. So right now we can say that our schools are relatively safe and secure, but that does not mean that we've eliminated violence in schools. Much more work we need to undertake. Next, please. So in terms of supportive teacher and processes, teacher training and recruitment of teachers has been continuous. Currently, we have female teachers in primary, secondary, and BTVET. And when you look at the bottom, we have female teachers in primary, 42.9%, in secondary, 24.6%. That is still a big gap. In BTVET, we have 29.6%, according to the Information Management System of 2017. And of course, more progress has already been made. Continuous professional development of teachers is ongoing, including training teachers on gender-responsive pedagogy, methodologies, safe learning, and well-managed learning environment. And of course, the national teacher policy that was adopted in 2018 is aimed at really producing quality teachers who are motivated, accountable, and adaptable, and of course, responsive to the education development needs. Would like to thank the Belgium government for the teacher training and education project. It has really helped us. We've also thanked the World Bank for the Uganda Teacher Support Education Project, which has supported in terms of the infrastructure for both teachers and learners. So in terms of the curriculum, Ministry of Education and Sports is rolling out the new curriculum that is more life skilled based, where we are looking at competencies. Really, we are looking at improving the quality of teaching and learning, and later on I will also reflect on the education outcomes. There's also a deliberate effort to develop instruction materials, reduce the stereotypes, gender roles, the status of women and girls, and of course ensure that we are able to address to the biases for women and boys, especially as regards to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics training. So that picture is a reflection of the participatory learning processes. There've been more investment in laboratories and related infrastructure. There've been some investments in ensuring that we produce young Ugandans who are confident, who have positive mindsets, and of course, who are able to learn and be able to perform better at the end of the day. Secondly, supportive families. The Education Act defines the roles and responsibility of families and communities. We've gone ahead to create awareness on the roles and importance of education. What's important to note, which is an area of further work, is in terms of the negative social norms and practices still prevail, though there are gains. Child marriage is still an issue. Female genital mutilation is still an issue in certain parts of the country. And of course, the dropout rate. However, more parents are more positive in terms of promoting girls' education. Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development, with the support of Ministry of Education and Sports, we are engaging families, communities, religious institutions, cultural institutions on positive parenting to ensure that we are able to provide a supportive environment that can help in terms of promoting education. More work remains in terms of the social norms. Can I move? When it comes to the legal and policy environment, this is an area where the country has done well. We've ratified most of the international instruments. And of course, we've also gone ahead, and can we go to the next? In terms of the national laws and policies, the Constitution recognizes equality and the importance of education. The Child Amendment Act, the Public Finance Management Act, which is also ensuring that budgets are allocated for gender and equity, and also Domestic Violence Act and others. In terms of the laws, we are doing relatively well. Where we need to really improve is in terms of their effective enforcement. We also have a national gender policy that has specific priorities in terms of promoting equality and girls' education, as well as the specific policies and laws within the Ministry of Education and Sports. So where do we stand in terms of the education outcomes? Net enrollment has significantly improved. This is primary education. 94% of girls in Uganda are in primary education, are enrolled in primary education, and then 93% of boys are also enrolled. We also note that about 7% of Ugandans are out of primary education. So we still have a gap that we need to address. Survival rate, this is those that are able to start primary 1 and reach primary 7. That is an area of concern. We note that there's a lot of dropout. Currently, 31.7%. Currently, 34, both boys and girls are able to complete primary 7. And of course, that's a loss, over 60 that are not reaching primary. So it's an indication of those that are dropping out, which is really very, very high. Completion rate, this is an indicator of those that register to sit primary 7 leaving examinations. It is at 63%. So within 1 year, we are also losing out boys and girls that are not able to sit primary leaving. Performance in primary leaving examination has slightly improved to 54 and then 60% of both boys and girls. So in terms of the educational outcomes, that is where we need to put a lot of effort as a country. For secondary education, we are able to see an increasing number of boys and girls enrolling. Completion is slightly improving. Transition to upper secondary education is also slightly improving, but a lot more needs to be done. Enrollment in business, technical and vocational training. For girls, it has slightly improved from 27 to over 35%. We note significant improvement in enrollment at higher education. And this is mainly because of affirmative action, where we have 1.5 points added on admission for the girls, and then 1 point for girls to enter into science-related fields. So the percentage has really improved. So what are the challenges? And of course, challenges present opportunities. Education in our case is very expensive, and of course, the low unit cost financing by government. And of course, that calls for investments really especially in terms of promoting science, technology, and mathematics, ICTs, income-generating activities to enable learners be able to thrive through the education system. We also have still limitations in the capacity of teachers to deliver the new curricula that has been introduced. And of course, continuous professional development and motivation is very, very important. Discriminatory social norms and practices still prevail. We are focusing more on community mobilization and mindset change and ensuring that men are engaged in terms of promoting equality and women's empowerment. We have gaps in terms of school infrastructure and facilities. The focus now is more on management of infrastructure that is available. GBV in homes and schools is still an issue. We've adopted a multi-sector approach to gender-based violence, prevention and response, and the support of the EU-UN Light Spotlight Initiative has been key. We'll be soon implementing the EU Spotlight Initiative 2, where we have a lot of focus on girls' education. Access to education by child mothers is very, very important, as well as sexual reproductive health. Then we have conflicts in the Great Lakes region, and of course, Uganda is hosting a significant number of refugees. Majority of them are young people. So education for refugees and refugee hosting community is an area of concern, and of course, peace building in the region, because people are flocking into Uganda mainly because of the conflicts in neighboring countries. So in terms of overall, it's important also that we are generating, we are disseminating and utilizing timely and gender responsive education data and statistics, as well as research to inform policy and ongoing interventions. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to note last slide that were significant gains we've achieved in terms of enrollment at all levels. And of course, the positive legal and policy framework is key. We still have gaps in terms of the education outcomes. Survival is still a challenge, completion, performance, and transition. And of course, elimination of gender-based inequalities requires a lot to do more in terms of the resources that we are putting aside. So I would like to thank you very much for the time and for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela, for this very insightful presentation with also a lot of progress made, but also a lot of challenges and opportunities still to be answered. So it was very interesting. Thank you for your testimonies. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, of comments for Angela. So we will take 3 questions at the same time, and then we will let Angela answer to those questions. So in the room, you have to use the mic that's in the center. Be sure that it's on red so that they can hear you online as well. And for online, maybe you can raise your hands and we will let you the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a first question in. You have a question? Okay, I thought. Is there any question from the participant online? Don't see hands. In the room? Maybe?
Yes, so you mentioned that there was a huge increase in the amount of report of violence within schools. It went to 70%. What did you do to have such a huge increase? And is it just physical and sexual violence, or does that include as well other forms of violence, like psychological violence?
Maybe I forgot to ask to present yourself while you are asking for. So maybe we can
Yes.
begin with you. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So I'm Helen Lambert and I'm a gender expert for Enabel. I just started to work 2 days ago.
Thank you, Helen. And then we have a question of Frida. Maybe you can introduce yourself before and then ask the question.
Good morning. Thank you, Angela, for all the explanations. But I am working in Uganda since 2007 in education. So in the beginning, you told us that education is a key to more to be more strong in a globalized world. But when I'm looking on the infrastructure, ik ga het in het Nederlands verder zeggen. Als ik naar de infrastructuur kijk op het platteland en de steun die families en communities krijgen, dan stel ik mij daar toch heel wel vragen bij hoe zij die sleutel tot die globalized world kunnen, toegang kunnen toekrijgen.
We can translate.
So maybe we will directly translate. So the question was, when we are regarding to the infrastructure support, how can we also be sure that this support will reach the people living in the rural areas?
Remote areas and without support for parents.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your question, Frida. Maybe we will take a third one and then we will let Angela answer to that series of questions.
There's a question. So I read the question in the chat. Okay. So there's patients who ask, we have noticed an increase in violence in schools, but we also notice an increase in teacher sexual violence in Uganda. How can this be addressed, especially given the fact that teachers are supposed to protect the children? Thank you, patients, for your question.
Okay, so maybe Angela, do you get the 3 questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Much for those questions. 4 of them were on violence against children in schools. I noted that when we started the program on safe learning environment, that was way back in 2012, the levels were exceptionally high. There was a study that was conducted. And based on that study, we were able as a country to develop interventions that we've been implementing for the last 10 plus years. And as we look today on the status of violence in schools, we note some milestones. We've reduced physical violence, for instance, from 82% then to 40% currently. I know the figure is still high, but there's change, positive change that we are witnessing. In terms of sexual violence, previously it was at 20.4%. Today it's at 17%. So we've also slightly reduced sexual violence against children in schools to an extent that during COVID, children felt that they were safer in schools than at home, unfortunately. So we note that sexual violence, physical violence, of course, there's also emotional violence. I just pointed out some few, is reducing within the school environment. However, when we look at the communities and homes, it's physical violence that has reduced, currently at 40%, but sexual violence within communities and homes and workplaces is increasing, not in schools, but within other spaces. So as a country, I think there are wins and losses. Violence in schools is reducing. Violence in communities is reducing. The only increasing aspect of violence in Uganda is now on sexual violence within homes and communities. Of course, that is not something to celebrate, but it's unfortunate that the trends are different. Regarding violence in schools, but also violence in communities and homes, also note an increased level of reporting. So that gives us an opportunity to respond with appropriate support services that we are working on a country in time of ensuring that different partners are supporting each other to ensure that these cases are really responded to. So what I would say in terms of addressing violence in schools, really is important that we encourage learners to report. Because when they don't report, then we can't address it. We are also encouraging the Ministry of Education and Sports to ensure that the facilities are conducive in terms of reducing violence. Instead, aspects like lighting in school is important. Aspects of ensuring that the classes are good is also important. There are not so many dark corners. All these may appear small initiatives, but contribute to the betterment of the learners while at school. Frida also raised a point on how do we ensure that infrastructure is able to reach in hard to reach areas. I know there's been a deliberate effort by government of Uganda to allocate the construction of classrooms and other facilities within hard to reach areas, but of course, much more needs to be done, especially when we reflect like to areas like Karamoja. Much more needs to be done in terms of construction of schools and required facilities. So that is an area which still requires additional work by government of Uganda and development partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I see that there is a hand raised.
Hand raised and a question in the chat.
And a question in the chat. Two questions in the chat.
First one is about school news.
Yeah, maybe you can read the first one. I can't.
So there's a question in the chat box, and then we will answer the question of the person who raised her or his hand. I can see the name, Huberte. Hello, everyone. I would like to know what measures the Ugandan government is taking to reduce the gap. In Benin, for example, we have the school canteen system, school meals, which helps to keep children in school, especially girls. Thank you. Yeah, meals, school meals.
So that was one of the chat, and then we can take the two hands, and then we will take the one in the chat. So maybe Juliette, if you can ask a question.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juliette Rubenstein. I'm based in Uganda as well. I work for the EU delegation. I'm the program manager in charge of education. And I just wanted to mention here one project that you might be aware of. I think Angela mentioned it a little bit when she mentioned Spotlight. But it's part of a broader program that's called Gender for Development Uganda. It's a 60 million project that is now starting in Uganda, in the northern region of Uganda. And the aim of the project is to increase the transition of girls from upper primary to secondary school. Because as Angela mentioned, in the transition is the main problem here with the ratio of girls transitioning that is not as high as boys. So the program is a comprehensive program, including construction of WASH to keep girls in school, working on the financial barriers that prevent girls to stay in school, the quality of education, and Enabel will be one of the implementing partner of the component on quality of education. And finally, through Spotlight initiative that you might be aware of, there will be a component on SGBV eradication and sexual reproductive health and rights. So the total project is 60 million euros, and it will be implemented in the next 4 years. And I think it will be a very important program with this comprehensive approach to see what can be the results for girls to stay in school. So we're really looking forward to the implementation of this program, and there will be also research done. UNICEF is also one of the implementing partners, so there will be research conducted to see the results of this comprehensive package that will be implemented. So I just wanted to highlight this project and yeah, we're looking forward to working with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Gender, and the other line ministries, local government, health, water and environment that will be part of this project. So I'm also looking forward to meeting with Angela when she's back in Uganda to discuss this project. So far, we have been discussing a lot with the Ministry of Education, but we're also looking forward to engaging the other ministries. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Thank you, Juliette, for this information. So it was more informative. Huh? I didn't catch a specific question. Thank you. Maybe Walupele, you can ask your question. I see the second hands online.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Angela, for your presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Walupele. I'm the founder and coordinator of an NGO for street children in the DR Congo. And my concern and my question is about girl street children in the street, because they are facing double vulnerability. And I'm very concerned about it because I don't know how you deal with it in Uganda. I think that they need specific measures, and I want to know how you deal with that issues in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you, Walupe. Well, right, and I think of Angela. We will take a third one online, Marie.
Yeah.
And then we will let Angela answer to those three questions.
Okay, Angela, it's fine for you? Third one? Yeah, okay. Moses, he said, I'm a social worker and I work in schools. How can the experts support the inception of support services in Uganda, especially like services of social work and counselors, so that we have safe children environment for safe learning environment for children? How can we influence policy for school social work and other support services? So that's the question.
So the influence of policy for school social work.
Yeah.
Did you get it? Yeah? Excellent. Okay, thank you for the question, Angela. Maybe you can try to answer to those.
Sorry. Regarding provision of meals for learners, for us in Uganda, what has been happening, parents are encouraged to pack for their children something to eat, especially those in rural areas. Those are in urban areas where parents can afford, they contribute some money and the school prepares a small meal for the learners. So government of Uganda is currently not contributing funding towards midday meals, but of course parents have been really mobilized to either contribute in terms of cash or the food or pack for the child. Of course, this is an area of concern for the poor parents that cannot afford. So it's still an issue that is being discussed. And of course, the cost to provision of food is really big. So it's an area that requires a lot of more work. But schools that we have day schools, we also have boarding schools. For boarding schools, the school management really includes feeding as part of the school fees. So those in boarding schools are not really impacted more negatively when it comes to school feeding. Juliet provided more additional information on the project Uganda for Development project that we are embarking on soon. And thank you very much, Juliet, for that additional information. And we are looking forward to implementing this project that will support girls' education in a significant way. For street children, really in Uganda is still an issue. We have children on streets, and usually they're resettled back, but they come back. So what's happening? The Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development operates two different approaches. One is to resettle the children back to their communities. And of course, this takes time. And the second option is to keep some of these children in reception homes where they are catered for, and deliberate efforts are taken to ensure that they can also access education. But I need to note this is still a challenge, especially where children keep on coming on the street on a daily basis. Kampala State Council, Kampala Capital City Authority has also been supportive because majority of the street children are within Kampala, and the authority works closely with the Minister of Gender, Labour, Social Development in terms of making sure that these children are resettled back. But the problem still remains. In terms of social work in schools, in Uganda, we have this is a role that is mainly played by the senior women teacher and senior male teacher that are given additional skills in counseling to be able to attend to the emotional needs of learners. Some of the schools we have school counselors that attend to the needs of the teachers, but also to the needs of the learners. The number of counselors in our schools is still limited. It's an area that also requires a lot of work. Guidelines have been developed in terms of supporting a number of areas like sexual reproductive health, like counseling, mentorship, and other areas. And even teachers that are not yet trained on counseling are able to support the learners as part of their extra work in addition to teaching. We've also tried to empower young learners to be able to support peer-to-peer support when it comes to some of these issues. So it's a combination of different approaches where teachers are being introduced to counseling, where we have designated teachers who are providing counseling services in schools, where we also peer-to-peer learners, where they're supporting each other. And those are the kind of services that are being provided. Recently, there's been a deliberate effort to promote online counseling, where a child can also call in, especially with a Uganda Child Helpline, and be able to access additional support. So far, those are the services that we have in terms of responding to psychosocial support.
Thank you, Angela. I think we covered the three questions. We have still more on the chat. Yeah. Maybe in the room, maybe we can take in one in the room before. It's a long time ago, and then back in the chat.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Jovita Mlai. I am the gender and social inclusion expert from Tanzania. You talked about counseling. That is really good. I wanted to hear more about the re-entry for the pregnant girls. What kind of support are there beyond the counseling? What kind of support are there for the girls who get pregnant and then go back to school? And how does that work?
Thank you, Jovita. And then online, we will take two, so you have three.
Yeah.
If it's okay for you, Angela? Yeah.
So Elisa, she asked, I would like to know if you also respond to gender-based violence which could occur outside the school, for example, on the way to school. And if yes, how? And Gertrude, she asked, how has the community been involved to reduce gender-based violence in school, and how are the reporting systems?
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't forget. In terms of re-entry of child mothers, It's a recent development where government of Uganda in 2022 developed the guidelines on prevention and management of teenage pregnancy and child mothers into school settings. Previously, I need to note that once a girl became pregnant, she was expelled out of the school system. And of course, that's why you see a high percentage of girls dropping out of school due to teenage pregnancy and child marriage. But in 2020, government adopted guidelines that gives girls, pregnant girls and child mothers, an opportunity to go back to school and continue with education. So what's happening is we are engaging schools not to expel the girls. Of course, there's a lot of resistance, especially among the religious founded schools, which are quite many. But the guidelines at least are setting the standards that you're not allowed to chase away the girls. The girl can stay within education system up to 6 months of pregnancy. At that time, then she goes back home to deliver. And after 9 months, she's then is free to come back and continue with education. It's a program that has just started. And of course, we are also experiencing resistance. We are also having challenges where the girls are saying, I no longer want to go back to school. But we've run a national campaign spearheaded by the First Lady and also the Minister for Education and Sports to encourage parents to take the children back to school, to encourage schools not to expel these girls, and also ensuring that we have a caretaker for the baby. It's not going to be easy, but what we celebrate as a country is we are changing. Instead of excluding the young girls because of pregnancy and child marriage or motherhood, we are giving these girls an opportunity to continue. It's a program that requires a lot of support by the parents to be able to provide caretaking for the baby, but also child mothers have additional requirements when they go back to school. We are engaging schools to be more friendly to these young girls that are coming back to school. So it's a program that requires a lot of support. In addition, sexual reproductive health and bursaries for these girls. So we are looking forward to the implementation of the new program that has prioritized re-entry of child mothers back into the school system. It's not easy, but since the commitment is there, I believe we'll be able to see more child mothers who are able to go back to school and they can complete school. Previously, it was mainly the support of the parents. They could even change the girl from the school where she was to another school so that she doesn't face a lot of stigma. But with the new policy guidelines, we hope for the better. Then in terms of GBV outside of school, yes, we have GBV out of school. And as government of Uganda, we've been doing a lot of work on prevention and response of gender-based violence. We've worked on the laws and policies. We are promoting community participation in terms of reducing gender-based violence. We are engaging culture and religious institutions. We are also stepping up our efforts in terms of service provision. For the cases of violence that have been reported to police, the conviction rate of the perpetrators has also significantly improved. So we've adopted a multi-sector approach. And of course, that is helping in terms of reducing, because the gains you've seen in terms of our data on physical violence, that is one of the outcomes Of course, the issues around sexual violence is where we are facing serious challenges. So the communities also participate in terms of reporting of gender-based violence. And as I noted, as I was presenting, we also have online mechanism for reporting. It's encouraging parents and children to report cases. And as part of the online reporting, there are also additional services. Once a case is reported through the system, it's easy to refer the case to the respective service point or to attend to the case in terms of counseling. It's a combination of reporting, but also response within the system.
Thank you, Angela. We still have some questions online.
But maybe
Yes, Angela, thank you for the information. So I will build further on your answers you gave us about the previous question. So my name is Luc Vierendeel. I'm in charge, and I'm retired already, so I'm in charge for horizontal effective projects. And we are collaborating and supporting Bishop Moko in the region of Ethiopia. It's nearly Kinshasa. And so we are working and we help them to develop a project about training, organizing a competence center related to renewable energy technologies. So the issue I will put on this table is about long life learning. Certainly for people, they have not been able to finish their secondary level, but they are still looking forward to go on the labor market because they will work and finish and not continue their studies on the secondary on the high level because they are not able or they are not able to pay something. So what is the experience with the Uganda government and how the government is looking forward the opportunities, what doing with this kind of young people? They did still finish their secondary level, but they are looking already forward, going on work. And what we are doing with this with these people, how you will forward this kind of opportunities?
Thank you very much. What's happening in Uganda is we have mechanisms for skilling for those outside of the education system. And the president has been running this program where there's an opportunity for existing training institutions to enroll those out of the school system, and they are given training, 3 months training to prepare them for a skill they can employ in the world of work, mainly on vocational training like saloon, fabrication. Those are skills that don't require a lot of academic work. So it's a program that is helping, and at the end of the training, they are given some startup capital to go out and start an income generating activity. Within the Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development, we are also running programs of skilling for young people where they are attached to training institutions. They are trained for some time, and when they qualify, they are also linked up with programs that can give them starting capital. The Youth Livelihood Program has been key in this area. So young people are being supported to make sure that they are skilled in an area and they're supported to start an income generating activity. The experience of Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development has been that quite often when our young people access the funding, they're not able to really be very serious with their income generating activities, and some of them may not be able to see it thriving beyond 1 or 2 years. So it's still a challenge of ensuring that they are monitored throughout the process. But their efforts are in place, yeah.
Thank you, Angela. We propose to finish at time because we announced that it would be to 1:15. We have still 2 or 3 questions in the chat, and we propose to finish with those 3 questions so that we can finish at the time we set. So Marie, go ahead with the 3 questions.
Yeah. The first question is from Frida. She asked the introduction of the new curriculum in SS, of secondary school, is indeed a very big step forward, but very expensive. How the Ugandan government is going to support the secondary schools, especially in A-level. Especially in A-level. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Second question is from Celine. I would like to know more about the life skill training. Which structure is delivering it? Do vocational training have included this life skill training in their curriculum? Thank you. Okay, and the last question is from Uberte, who is here with us. We can see you. On the question of teenage pregnancy, shouldn't the projects be reviewed and geared toward promoting abstinence while showing the dangers of having sex prematurely? And she is from Benin. 3 questions to finish.
Okay, I think I'll start with the last one. Yes, promoting abstinence is very good. Though I need to note that in most cases, these girls don't have a choice. They're defiled. So much as we can focus on abstinence, but in the effect that they don't make the decisions by themselves, it becomes a very big challenge. And of course, other additional support is required. Government of Uganda has been very, very positive in terms of promoting abstinence. Amidst high levels of sexual violence, we find that some of these girls are really very made vulnerable by the increasing violence. For FIDA, the new curriculum, how is government supporting the rollout of the new curriculum? A number of approaches, really training teachers to be able to deliver the new curriculum has been going on, and this is where Enabel has supported significantly government of Uganda. Development of materials, instructional materials. Government is also rolling out new instruction materials that are intended to ensure that the new curriculum is well delivered. Then engaging learners and schools in terms of implementing the new curriculum. So a number of approaches are being taken on board to ensure that the new curriculum is rolled on and implemented successfully. And within the new curriculum, there are elements of life skill learning. But of course, as a country, that is an area where we need to do a lot of work. And of course, life skilled learning, of course, keep on very dynamic within the existing challenges, but also within the global trends. So it's an area that keeps on, that has to be reviewed from time to time to ensure that Ugandans can have skills that can make them live through life and also contribute to national development. I think that's
Thank you so much, Angela. It was a lot of questions, very interesting, insightful answers as well regarding the reality and the context in Uganda. So thank you for all the questions you asked, and Angela also for all the answer you gave to us. So it's almost time to close the session. So we've gone through a lot of challenges, progress, and opportunities through your presentation. You made a lot of links between different important things, the affordability of education, the cost of education, which is of course still a big challenge, the importance of a conducive learning, safe and protective learning environment, regarding the distance to school, the infrastructures, the school environment. We also touched the challenges of violence against children into school, but also outside schools and in the families, and the progress that has been made. The importance of supporting the teachers and the continuous professional development of the teachers in gender transformative pedagogy as well, the importance of educational materials, adapting the curriculum, introducing life skills as well, so that we can improve the quality also of teachers and learning. The important role of supportive families and communities, so the importance of community mobilization, the change of mindset, the social norms as well, with different mobilization and sensitization activities, and also the framework and the conducive legal and policy framework and national commitments that Uganda has already taken. Well, I think we covered a lot. There is still a lot to do, but it was really interesting to see the commitment of Uganda regarding girls' education. So thank you for your commitment, your passion, a lot of luck for the future and all those challenges that we still have to achieve. So I will let maybe Marai conclude and finish
this session.
This session.
Yes, from my side also, I want to thank you, Angela Nakafeero, for sharing your insights and to learn us more about Uganda. It was really a pleasure and an honor to have you with us today in Brussels. And thanks to Pauline for moderating this session, to listen for the technical support, and for Enabel for this collaboration with their whole new technical system, who is working very well. We will come back. And thank you to all the participants online and for your very active participations, for the questions you ask here, and for the participants here in the room. As usual, the recording and the presentation will be on the educate.be website very soon. And we hope to see you again at one of our activities. And wishing you a very pleasant day and a good weekend for everyone. And see you next time.
Thank you.